I never imagined my marriage would fall apart the way it did. Yet looking back now, with the sharp vision that hindsight gives, I realize the warning signs had always been there. Small fractures in the bond one brushed aside, convincing myself everything was fine, that we were fine. Zachary and I had been married for 4 years. On the outside, we lived what many would call a stable life. A modest home with a sagging couch, mismatched mugs, and routines that felt safe, even if they lacked excitement. 2 steady jobs, a rhythm that promised consistency more than thrill. We weren't one of those flawless couples you see plastered online. But I believed we had something steady, something true. Or at least I told myself we did. Beneath that comfort, though, something unspoken quietly brewed. A tension I didn't fully notice until everything collapsed. It really began, or maybe the start was far earlier, with Austin. He had been my friend since college. More than 10 years of history, pulling all-nighters before exams, sharing tears after heartbreaks, laughing until our sides ached over ridiculous inside jokes. And yes, years ago, there was a fleeting spark, one kiss, a short fling that fizzled almost instantly. I buried it as a forgotten chapter, overshadowed by years of platonic loyalty. To me, Austin was steady, familiar, harmless. But to Zachary, he was something entirely different, a danger. At first, Zachary never raised real objections. He was civil whenever Austin came up, even friendly the rare times they met. But slowly, I noticed the changes. The way his jaw tightened ever so slightly when Austin's name slipped into conversation. The stiffness in his body when I laughed at something Austin texted me. The heavy silence when I reminisced about college stories. I waved it off. I told myself Zachary was being insecure, unfair. After all, I was married to him, not Austin. I dismissed his concerns as baseless jealousy. But I never truly listened. The breaking point came when Austin invited me on a trip to Myrtle Beach. It wasn't some hidden getaway, it was a group reunion. Old friends meeting for a weekend of sun, drinks, and nostalgia. I was thrilled, craving an escape from the dullness of daily life. When I mentioned it to Zachary, I expected a reluctant nod, maybe even a shrug. Instead, his response was cold and unshakable. "You're not going," he said. His tone was flat, but the steel beneath it startled me. I laughed, thinking he was joking, until I met his eyes. He spelled it out. He didn't trust Austin's intentions. The history between us unsettled him. Our friendship blurred too many lines. He said he'd tolerated it for years, but this crossed a boundary he couldn't overlook. I was furious. Who was he to tell me what I could or couldn't do? I prided myself on independence. His demand felt suffocating, possessive. I fought back, insisting it was harmless, that I deserved a break, that he was overreacting. That's when he delivered the ultimatum. If you go, don't expect to come back to the same marriage. I should have paused. I should have listened. Instead, I treated it as a dare, a line in the sand I refused to retreat from. I packed that night, kissed him goodbye with defiance in my voice, and drove to Myrtle Beach. The trip was everything I had pictured, laughter echoing along the shore, old faces, raised glasses, conversations that felt timeless. Austin and I slipped easily back into our old rhythm, teasing, confiding, sharing. But somewhere between the sunset and too many drinks, things shifted. One evening, on the balcony while the others played inside, Austin and I talked about the past, about what-ifs. His gaze lingered longer than it used to. When our hands brushed, I didn't pull away. He leaned closer. Not quite a kiss, but something dangerous enough. And for one suspended moment, I froze. I didn't kiss him, but I didn't stop it fast enough either. I told myself it was nothing, just alcohol and nostalgia. But deep down, I knew better. The next day, still clouded, I made a worse mistake. Austin and I posed for a beach photo, me in a bikini, his arm draped around my waist. Smiles wide and thoughtless. I posted it online with a careless caption, "Living my best life." I didn't think of Zachary. Didn't consider the blow that picture would deliver. Didn't think at all. When I got home, the silence was suffocating. His car was there, but his presence wasn't. Half his clothes gone. His keys missing. I called in a panic. When he finally answered, his voice was flat, drained. "I'm done, Paisley," he said. "I saw the picture. I warned you. I told you what this meant." I scrambled, swore it wasn't what it seemed, insisted nothing happened. But he cut me short. "You chose him. You humiliated me. You destroyed us." And then he hung up. I stared at my phone as the weight crushed me. The fallout was brutal. Friends, relatives, even strangers, messaged, judged, condemned. "Did you really think that was okay? That photo was unforgivable. How could you do that to Zach?" I deleted the post, but it was too late. The damage was permanent. And Austin? Whatever fleeting spark had glimmered that night was gone. There was no grand love story, no secret romance. Just blurred boundaries and a lifetime of regret. When Zachary finally returned weeks later, it wasn't for reconciliation. It was to close the chapter. He looked weary, aged. His voice trembled as he said, "I trusted you. I told you how I felt, and you didn't care. I wasn't asking you to give up your friends. I was asking for respect, for limits, and you dismissed it. I begged, apologized, swore I never meant to hurt him." But he had already let go. He walked out, and that time, he never came back. In the months that followed, I was left with nothing but my thoughts, my guilt, and the echo of every choice that ruined us. I replayed each moment I brushed off his feelings. Every time I chose defiance over compassion. I thought I was defending freedom. But really, I was tearing apart the only person who truly loved me. Through friends, I learned Zachary started therapy. It helped him rebuild. He filed for separation. I didn't fight it. How could I? I shattered something sacred, something beyond repair. Now, with clarity, I see the truth. It wasn't just a trip, or a photo, or one mistake. It was the accumulation of every moment I didn't listen. Every chance I had to choose my marriage and didn't. Austin drifted out of my life. We don't speak. There was never a happily ever after there. Just a brief misstep that cost me everything. Zachary is gone, and I'm left with the raw lesson. Love is not about ego or stubbornness. It's about trust, boundaries, and respect.